Hello, good afternoon. This is Małgorzata Kurzępa. I'm a founder and director of Fair House Investments, the company which invests in properties in UK for over 8 years and 10 years altogether. 8 years ago, I came from Poland, and because I started my property journey there, I just continue it after coming to UK. Every Sunday afternoon, I'm coming to you with another subject somehow connected to investing in properties. And today I wanted to tell you about 6 alternative ways of raising finance. If you think about investing in properties, usually the first thing you have in mind is how to finance it. So there are plenty of options how to start your property journey with some of the strategy or one of the strategy which doesn't need too much money for the beginning, like sourcing or property management, for example. But the ideal resolution is to immediately find a way to use other people's money instead of your own. So usually at the beginning we have two basic questions. First is how to raise the money to get started, and second, how to find the money to keep going. What I have in mind by other people's money is basically the money from private sector, not from traditional finance options like lenders, like banks, building societies, or other institutions. My own money versus other people's money. What are the advantages of using other people's money instead of your own? So first of all, you can with other people's money you can continue your growth, because when you use your own finance, when you use your savings or even the credit score and lending money from lenders, eventually you will run out of money. So if you find a source of private finance, then your company will be growing continuously, because you would always be able to raise new finance from the new investor. The second thing is risk reduction. What does it mean? In a situation when the project fail somehow or wouldn't be as successful as we expected, or something happened to the market, then while using your someone else's money, you reduce the risk that you lose your own money. Of course, nobody wants to lose investors' money, and this is why I basically advise you to get some experience before you start raising money from private investors. But in general, this is what happens. When you lose your money, sometimes it's just some part of your pot of cash, and it's not a big deal. You survive it, and you handle this somehow, and after a while you rebuild your pot of cash. But there are also situations when the market something in your strategy, for example, in your business, because it's not only about the properties, that the business collapsed or the whole industry collapsed completely, and you would be left with no money at all. So in such a situation, when you still have some money on side and part of the money you lost belong to your investors, could basically save your life, because with investors you could always make some agreements. And the third advantage of using other people's money is that you basically use a leverage, which means that you can invest faster the capital. You can invest more capital to build your portfolio faster, which means you can reduce the cost of the finance. For example, if you build your property business on site, when you still have your daily job, and building investment company is just is something that you do after hours. When you build it when you build it faster, like instead of in 2 years you would be able to build it in 1 year, it means that faster you can resign of your daily job and move completely to investing. It's always an option. What are the particular options which you can use by using other people's money? So first of all, seller financing. What exactly does it mean? This happened in situation when the seller maintains the current mortgage or with the ownership of the property, while the buyer gains the right to sell the property. It usually happens in a situation when the property is, for example, damaged, and we are not able to rent it anymore. because none of the tenants wants to live there, and the seller is looking to sell, but no one is basically wanting to buy because of the poor condition, or because of the fact that the condition of the property is inadequate to its location or its purpose. For example, if this is a residential area and your property is really damaged and you don't have money to refurbish it, while most of the clients are potential owners who wants to buy the property and move in immediately because they have kids at school or they don't have much money, because they work their daily jobs. In this situation, if someone comes to you and promise you help with selling this property, and this help would be basically putting some extra money for refurbishment, then probably most of the sellers would be very happy to share the profit with the potential buyer or the person who will be in between the seller and the final buyer. The second option, also if, for example, you want to turn the property into HMO, because this is HMO area, also you can, the potential person who approach you, put some extra money, you refurbish it into the state of proper HMO, and then you can sell. The second option I have in mind is delayed completion. So the seller holds the title until the condition of contract are fully filled by the buyer. What exactly does it mean? Again, sometimes the property is run out, is derelict property, and there is no one who wants to buy it. So when the potential buyer, but in this case it will be person who really would like to buy the property, approach the seller, the seller usually agree that you know how the property purchase transaction looks like. After the whole process of preparation, there is one part of the selling process which is called contract exchange, and the second part which is called completion. So on a contract exchange, the buyer is paying deposit to the seller, and also he also has to buy the insurance of the property, and after that the funds are transferred from lender to the seller, and then the completion is coming, and only after completion the buyer is a full owner of the property. So in theory, you can exchange the contracts and delay the moment of completion. So you can make an agreement with the seller that, for example, you purchase the property, but only in, I don't know, 2 months time, 3 months time. It usually happens when you cannot raise the funding for the purchase, and for this time you will be pay. Of course, you pay the deposit to the seller, but through this 2 or 3 months time, you're responsible for the property. So you agree that you will be paying kind of rent to the seller, so a certain amount of money, which usually cover his mortgage. And in this time, you will renovate the property. You will put the tenants there. You would be using it as you would like to, but you will pay the rest of the money in a short period of time, which is immediately agreed with the seller. The third option is equity partners. Usually I'm talking about JV partners when there is a partnership between investor who puts the money into the deal and the person who already has an experience, and this person is responsible for all the work that has to be done. Fourth option is private money. So this is exactly what everybody has in mind when they're thinking about other people's money, because what we're talking about is a money in cash. So of course you can form all sorts of SPV, a special purpose vehicle, set the limited company, or choose the formal option, which is the best for both sides. When you share the equity or non-equity, and this is the shares are divided between partners. It could be the money could come from self-directed pension systems, or from private investors. And these private investors are called high net worth investors or angel investors. And remember that if you want to cooperate with high net worth investors, he has to sign a special certificate that he knows what it is, that he confirmed that he is high net worth investor, and he understands what he's doing while he's putting money into your investment. The fifth option is not very popular. Basically, it's a bartering. When you barter any number of options like service, product, or properties, you just exchange whatever you can do with another person who can do something different for you. The sixth is lease option. It's called lease option. Lease option, again, it's usually considered derelict properties when it's very difficult to find a buyer for the property, but also there is a kind of pressure on the seller. It happens when the seller is in kind of debt, and he's somehow forced to sell the property. In the same time, it's difficult for him to find a proper buyer, the cash buyer. So or buyer with a mortgage. In such a situation, you sign the lease option contract in which you agree the selling price of the property, and you agree the time after which the option would be exercised. In the same time, you give some cash to you as a potential buyer. You give some cash to the seller, which support him in the moment of need, the money he needs immediately to become safe, like to return to his debtor, for example. And after this time, again, you pay a kind of rent to the seller. In this time, you use the property as in the way you want. You renovate it, you turn it into HMO, service apartment, or single let, and you just have money from your tenants or guests. And from this money, you pay rent to the still formal owner of the property. The risk for the seller in such a situation is that the price is agreed immediately. So if the property value goes up in price, he would only get as much as he agreed, despite of selling it in 10 years' time. From the other side, he only does it in the situation when he really must. So still, this option somehow helped him, somehow saves his financial situation. For the buyer, actually, there is also a little bit of risk because he has to put some money into the property to start it running. But from the other side, if after 10 years he decided, for example, the property is not worth the money he agreed to pay, or the market went down and the property is actually worth less that it used to be 10 years ago, it's only an option to buy for him. He doesn't have to buy the property. He could return the property to the seller, which is usually in a better condition than it was 10 years ago. So actually it's still win-win situation. As you are building your property investment portfolio, your private lender options are growing because when you build your portfolio, more people approach you, more people know you, and it's just easier for you to raise a private finance. So one way to learn about all these types of opportunities and how to benefit both you and the investor is to gain the knowledge about the process supported by an experience. And how to gain this knowledge? Of course, the easiest answer would be take a course. But it's not that easy these days. I can't advise you to attend any particular course in the subject because I don't know any. My advice is to find someone, not to run without thinking, for a course, for someone who promised you that he will teach you how to invest in properties and how to become rich in 1 month time, or 3 days course. So my advice is to find someone who has already done it and just follow his path. If you need an advice, just approach this person. Property investors usually are very keen to share their knowledge. Some of them sell their knowledge, they offer paid consultation. But if you follow this person for a while, you know that his knowledge is worth something and he's keen to share, just pay for this consultation, because usually it speed up your journey. Also, you can start attending a mastermind if this person run any mastermind program. Another advice I will share with you is that using other people's money definitely needs an experience. So build your knowledge and your portfolio and your personal brand first with your own money. Only when you get an experience and with time, and after you build your portfolio, then start approaching other people to get their money and start investing their money. Because if you lose someone's money, I was talking about it when I talk about the risk. If you lose someone's money, you will start getting an opinion of person who doesn't know how to invest, or to whom happens that he lost the money on investing, which is not a very nice for your brand. It's very difficult to build your opinion, build your brand, but remember, it's very easy. Sometimes it's one day, one bad decision, and you can lose it immediately. Very difficult to rebuild, and very difficult to find money later if you lost the money of one of your investors. When you have prospering business, as I said, potential investors will start approaching you, and you wouldn't even have to look for them immediately. Look at some of the podcasters or people who run these educational courses. When they in the same time have their portfolio and they also run the business on the other side of education, then they have no issues with investors, because people basically trying to get to them as quickly and as they could, just to give them their money to invest for them, because they realize that these are the people who knows how to do it, or at least this is what they think. So is it good or bad? I don't know. I don't want to judge anyone, or I don't want to give you any particular advice about any particular person, but this is what happened when you build your brand and people knows what you're doing. So remember, because if there are gains, then you share the gains. Unfortunately, if you lose, then usually you are the loser. So how someone said that the success has many fathers, while the loss is an orphan. So this is how it happens. We have to keep it in mind. So remember to treat your investing as a serious business. So create a business plan first to identify your target investments, fund sourcing, and set your marketing plan. Also, you need to invest in yourself, in your knowledge. So as I mentioned, listen to your podcast, read bloggers, articles, watch webinars, attend courses, even attend the mastermind if you feel this is something which you need. Set the background of your knowledge before you start investing in a real life. If you're serious about investing, you must have a discipline to live below your means at the beginning of your journey, because in order to save money, to put it in your property business. Also, smart property investors save a percentage of his or her profit from each deal to reinvest in your business. I actually advise you, when you set your business plan, just also decide what percentage of your income you would be reinvesting in your company. It could be 50%, it could be 30 or even 70%. The ideal situation is when you start building your property investment business on site while you still have your daily job, then you basically could reinvest 100% at the beginning. Reinvesting is another key to long-term success. So finally, remember that the successful property investors will both specialize in specific type of deals while diversifying their portfolio. Then this demonstrates both knowledge and experience in the industry. With discipline, dedication, and determination, you can find success in the property investment industry. From the other side, remember about your why. Don't stop dreaming, being creative, and enjoying cooperation with other people. So, summarizing what I said, there are I advise you to start investing in property with your own money, but with time, or if you don't have money at the beginning, start looking for alternative investing options, which are first, seller finance, second, delayed completion, 3, equity partnerships like JV partnership, 4, private money, 5, bartering, and 6, lease options. So I wish you all the best in your property investing journey. It was Małgorzata Kuszempa from Fair House Investments. If you want to listen to my previous podcast, previous videos, sorry, I also recorded live for my Polish friends. So all my English videos you will find on my on my YouTube channel, which is called just Fair House Investments. So all the previous videos are there. Thank you very much for listening to me today and have a nice and great Sunday. Bye bye. Fair House Investments, Małgorzata Kuszempa.